Hey everyone, my name is Tegan, welcome back to TandeWrites, but today we are wrapping up my reading for October. I read 9 books this month, which has become pretty average for me, except this time it took me like ages to read all of them. I tend to have multiple books on the go at one time. I like to have an ebook, usually for my commute to and from work. I have an audiobook when I'm sitting at my desk playing Sims, and every now and then like my paperback, my physical copy for in-bed reading. So I am reading all these books at once, which is why it takes so long, but sometimes a book just drags, you know. Or it doesn't drag, sometimes it just takes you to a whole week to read a relatively short book, and it ends up being the greatest book you've ever read. So let's start with some moods and some genres. My moods this month are predominantly emotional, reflected, hopeful, and dark. I don't usually have reflective and hopeful so high up, so I'm deeply intrigued to try and remember what I read, because this month is a mystery to me. Informative's on there. What did I read that was informative? Then young adult, which I keep saying is a genre, not an age category, continues to win, but I have to accept that there are, you know, actual differences between YA and adult in terms of text and content and things like that. Still mad about it. LGBT's up there, romance is up there. I say up there, there's only 3 books that have romance as a genre, and I think I can guess what they are. And so I had I was going to say slightly eclectic genre month. I just read a non-fiction book. I now have slightly different genres showing up than usual. And my average rating for the month was 3.56 stars, which is literally completely average. It's a 3.5 out of 5, it's a 7 out of 10. Mostly read 4-star books, but there's a pretty even spread of ratings there. And I'll show you this just so you can see how long it's taken me to read certain books. There is a colour coding system. It's colour coded by format, if anyone cares. And I'm still only like halfway, not even halfway through this journal. Oh, there's lots of pages at the end. Never mind. But I am probably only actually halfway through the pages because I just keep neglecting my journal. And I believe I'm going to get the Illumicrate December box that has some kind of book planner in there, which I'm quite excited by. I was going to get the December Owlcrate one because there's a study and drowning item, but I'd like the Illumicrate book a little bit more. We'll just go in order of when I started reading rather than finished reading because I don't want to follow my arrows. The first book I read this month was Coldwire by Chloe Gong. This was an ARC I received on NetGalley from the publisher in exchange for an honest review, which I'm still processing. It is a daring new dystopian series where humanity has moved to virtual reality to flee their deteriorating world, following 2 young soldiers who must depend on unlikely allies in their fights for survival. So we're in a society where, you know, the world, as usual, has gone to shit, and rich people can buy an alternate life in virtual reality where they just stay in like their little pods and live their lives in VR in just a copy of their world that is better and intact and very expensive. So there's a cold war raging between 2 powerful nations. I'm not like a big sci-fi dystopian reader anymore because I just can't grasp science or worlds on occasion. So I was kind of struggling to follow what was going on with these different nations and what's going on. If you are an orphan from one of these countries in the other country, you have to be in military school and be a soldier, otherwise you'll be accused of being a spy just for existing in this world. So this book is told by 2 narrators. They're both trying to track down this AI, one of which has like the power to change or destroy the world. I'm saying this very vaguely because I read this at the start of the month. I don't remember the start of the month. And I also was not following much, but I was really enjoying it. And then I got to the end. I think the last 90% was a solid 5 stars to me. The first 10% was the last 10% was a solid 5 stars. Everything up to that point, I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying it, but am I having a good time? I'm struggling to follow, but last 10%. One character is in like the real world, which is called Down Country, she's basically been kidnapped by the world's most famous anarchist who's trying to take down the government, and she's been forced to cooperate with him while he tries to track down this AI in the real world. And then in the virtual world, which is called Upcountry, you have another girl who is on a mission, which with her partner in this mission, and this is basically the final assignment to graduate military academy, is they're going out they're getting posted somewhere, and they are also trying to track down this AI. So everyone's trying to track down the same thing, one in the real world, one in virtual reality. And some point at the end, you start to see the connections between the 2 different characters, and the closer they come to the truth, the closer everything comes to falling apart. And then you realise that it's not just... It is two different narrators, but it's also two slightly different timelines. And that was when that clicked, is when this book became incredible for me. Next book I started was Clockwork Princess, book 3 in the Infernal Devices trilogy, and this was my audiobook reread because I started reading the other two last month. I just wanted something relatively light-hearted, relatively easy. I remember all of the fandoms saying that the Infernal Devices is the best out of the Cassandra Clare series. I don't think I agree with that, but I do enjoy the Will Tessa Gem relationship the most out of everyone. And as always, I wish these things could be resolved in polyamory rather than a love triangle. But also, the Will Tessa Gem triangle is probably one of the only actual true examples in YA fiction where it is a love triangle where everyone kind of loves each other rather than a girl being forced to choose between two boys, because that's not a triangle, that's just a line. They gotta all love each other to be the triangle. And I really love it, and yeah, the ending did hit me all these years later. Next I read Melt With You, which is this YA contemporary romance about two girls who are exes. They had like a dramatic breakup the year before. One of them doesn't realise it was a breakup and thinks nothing's wrong. The other one, this was like her first love, so she's deeply crushed by this. It's a lot of, one bed, forced proximity. Their mothers own an ice cream business together, so the two girls, the two exes, are driving this ice cream truck to a food festival to try and help out their parents. And it was fine. I finished reading it. It was a light-hearted, easy read. If you are a bigger fan of romance, specifically sapphic romance, you will like this more than I did. Not saying I not saying I don't like sapphic romance. I've just read a lot of this author's works now. I think there was Some Girls Do and Hot Dog Girl, and I didn't like either of them because I don't like her characters. I really love her covers, I just don't like her characters, and yet I keep reading the books as if I'm suddenly going to start liking her characters. So someone would love this. I love the representation in the YA contemporary romance space for sapphic characters. I just don't like her characters. The next I read, I'll do this as a double whammy. Secrets of the Universe, A Waters of the World, the Ariane Dante duology by Benjamin Alira Sanez. And Kieran, these are my audiobook rereads because I again read these books years and years and years ago. I had an advanced copy of Waters of the World when it first came out. It was one of my first advanced copies. It was very exciting for me. And I really enjoyed them at the time. I don't think they've held up as much or at all. They feel kind of dated, I believe. Kind of like autobiography and All the Right Places are kind of becoming, a product of 2014. But still did quite enjoy them. And hearing Lin-Manuel Miranda's voice as the audiobook narrator was a jump scare at first, but he really pulls off whiny teenage boy. So it worked for me. And I've seen a lot of criticism about these books post-release, about how there's a lot of transphobia in there. I would say these books are set in the 80s in New Mexico. The author is definitely pulling on his teenage or young adult experience of when he must have been a teenage boy in the 80s. Some of the language we probably would not use it today in the 2025. 2005? But it is an accurate reflection of the time. One of the characters is in prison because he killed a woman and because he found out she was transgender. All of the families are very accepting of trans people, gay people, any kind of queer spectrum. There's a lot of representation in this family. They just sometimes use words that are a product of its time to describe it. So I don't think the books are necessarily transphobic. I just think they just don't hold up to today's standards of a book that is technically historical fiction. But yeah, I didn't enjoy them as much as I did when I was a teenager, but they have a lot of the moments, the relationship between Ariane and Dante, and especially this book is like a love letter to parents and parents who accept you. Really still enjoys that. Then a physical book that I read this month, I don't think my videos get enough views and enough people to care about this, is a Taylor Swift book. Because, yeah. And this is by Annie Zaleski. This is Taylor Swift's Stories Behind the Songs. And it is like a breakdown into every song she'd ever released at the point this book came out. It spans from her debut album to Tortured Poets Departments and includes like all the little singles in between. And as someone who is a Swiftie but didn't hugely enjoy this book. The problem with books about Taylor Swift is that I have been a fan since I was 7 years old in 2008. So I have almost 2 decades of Swift studies under my belt. So many of the books about her feel like very redundant or wrong. They're more for like a new fan than a long-term fan. And the long-term fans are the ones who are going to be buying everything with her name on it. So I want things catered to me. So this one is a very nice introduction to people who are newer to the Taylor Swift cinematic music universe. And I do like the focus on what the songs are about rather than who. For the bulk of the descriptions pre-Midnights. When we get to like Midnights onwards, it becomes very, Joe Alwyn, May Healy heavy. It's more speculation about the state of the relationship than, everything up to that point, which is like quite nice, very focused on what the songs are about, and talking to her collaborators about what the songs are about. If I'm being nitpicky about this book, which I am, I wish some of the accompanying photos of Taylor were actual like photos of her performing the songs, because all of these songs have been performed live pretty much thanks to the Eras tour and the various tours accompanying the albums, but sometimes there's just like a random performance rather than one that relates to this song. First of all, yeah, I noticed it a lot throughout this, but specifically the 1989 era was when I was writing notes about this review. So Wildest Dreams, we have a photo of her performing Out of the Woods at the Grammys. I'm aware that these are things that you probably won't notice if you are not a long-time Taylor Swift fan. Then for How You Get the Girl and This Love, we have photos of her performing at, this was either like in like 2016, 2017, she had post-Bleachella pre-Reputation. She did these like one-off performances for, I think, mostly like kind of like festival race car events. What's the caption say? The Super Saturday Night concert. Oh, this is not the one I was thinking. I was thinking of the one where she had like the short hair, like the race car suit. But we have a photo of her performing I Don't Want to Live Forever for How You Get the Girl and This Love. She's performing I Knew You Were Trouble here. And just the jarring contrast of This Love, which is like a soft, sweet, gentle song, and her performing I Knew You Were Trouble with the Smoke is so jarring for me. I don't like it. And also because this book came out after Torture's Poet Departments, she has done 4 of the re-recorded albums at that point. And I wish it included her thoughts on like revisiting those albums and the re-recordings. Because it does mention things she said in album prologues. And I was like, why don't we include her updated view? Because, things are different, things have changed. And yeah, this book does cover the Taylor's Versions track, so tell me about Taylor's versions. And somewhere in the 1989 era, there's this whole page about the guests of specifically the 1989 era, but there's no page for her other tours. And at this point, we have The Fearless, The Speak Now, The Red, and The Reputation. Eras tour was happening at this time, so I understand why that wouldn't be included. But she's talking about the special guests and the songs she sung as covers. But on these other tours, she sung songs as covers. My favourite tour tradition would be in the Speak Now tour, where she sung a cover of a song by an artist who was from the city she was performing in. And it's like, why are we not mentioning that? Why are we not mentioning her arm lyrics and how she uses other people's songs to represent her feelings? Also, on the Wildest Dreams page, let's go back to there while we're here. Pretty much every page has like this little bold intro paragraph to provide some pre-context. The Wildest Dreams one is just a big empty space, and I'm pretty sure there should be something there because the paragraph below implies there should be something there. And what should be there appears to be an anecdote that I don't know as a crazy Swiftie. So it's killing me that I don't know what it says. And then somewhere in, I think in the Evermore era, it's either Folklore or Evermore, there's a page for a song that was produced by Jack Antonoff. And a lot of the times on here, if like a song's produced by a certain person, it will mention like quotes and insight from that person. But it's a song produced by Jack Antonoff, but the quotes are entirely from Aaron Dessner, so I don't know if they've got the producer wrong, or the quotes are wrong, or what, because the quotes are kind of vague about what something could be about. So there's just like not a great attention to detail here for someone who is a crazy Swiftie. This is definitely for newer fans. I've accepted that I am a crazy Swiftie. But if you're having my money for a book just because I'm buying just because her name's on it, and this leather bodysuit which appears to be on every single thing. For example, I have this other Taylor book that I'm going to read, which also has the bodysuit on, but it's by Rob Sheffield, who is the Rolling Stone journalist, and he's the only man I trust giving insight on Taylor Swift songs because he has just done very good insights, and a lot of fans really like him. So I'm looking forward to reading that one. Next book I read was Increased Risk by Shannon Barry, which is her poetry and prose book about her chronic illness. She had one that came out a few years ago. I think it's called In the Event That We Fall Apart, or In Event That Things Fall Apart, which was a poetry book about her boyfriend, then fiancé, now husband, which is kind of like an anniversary present that she released publicly because people, her friends, really enjoyed and supported her writing. And I had that one, I enjoyed that one. I have increased risk now, and I enjoyed it. And this one I was expecting to hit very close to home as someone with a chronic illness, and I think we have a lot of overlap in our symptoms. And there are some very standout poetry and prose from this. But I think, from my own perspective as someone with a chronic illness, there's only so much I can write about it and so many ways I can describe it before I start repeating myself. And I felt for this one, as it is a very short book as well, did feel repetitive at points, but yeah, there were some moments that I really enjoyed and really related to. I think if you read it like a couple at a time, just like dropping in here and there to read about very heavy themes, it might be more enjoyable, but I read it all at one go because I'm a completionist in that sense. And I thought, I'm just feeling like I'm living a day in my life right now. Mostly positive, but yeah, it does feel repetitive quite quickly for me. Then I read Bad Graces by Karen Macaulay. I've read one of her books before. What is it called? It's here. All the Dead Lie Down, which is spooky sapphic. Really enjoyed that one. So I read Bad Graces. Bad Graces is about a group of girls who they're originally on like a yacht, some kind of boat. They're being taken from like LA to Alaska on this boat trip to go and film a Shakespeare film. They're all like, most of them are famous, one of them's not. She's like a scholarship kind of intern. And they're all in this boat. The director of this film, who obviously is obsessed with teenage girls, takes the boat off course to try and show off and have a whale watching expedition and also get a tax write-off for using his boat as transport. The boat wrecks. The girls are all stranded on this island where everything is not quite as it seems. There is a monster on that island, and this is coming for them. So Yellow Jackets meets House of Hollow. So I picked this up because I love House of Hollow, and I think I'd love Yellow Jackets if I ever watch it. But yeah, a group of young women as they face the stress of harsh elements, mysterious monster, and unravelling of secrets after their yacht is wrecked off the coast of North America. Then yeah, there's threats of starvation and exposure. They learn that there's a monster lurking in the forest, unlike everything they've seen before, until they begin to see it in themselves. So every injury they suffer on the island causes like a mutation, a little change in their body, which is something that helps them survive because they are adapting to the island. It's very fun. Might be my favourite book for the month, but also Coldwire is up there, so I'm quite conflicted. Girls who are, famous, beautiful, stranded on an island where they accept that their true form is basically a monstrous, evil little girl. Love that for me, really speaks to me. And I will probably write a real review for this at some point because I enjoyed it so much, at least a little paragraph, because it might make some end of year lists. But I'm scrolling the Goodreads page right now, and one of my mutuals on Goodreads DNF'd at 53%. She says it's exactly like taking The Lord of the Flies and replacing the boys with 6 insufferable influences, except I really enjoyed the characters. I love that they're insufferable. I love girls that are a bit evil. But yeah, really enjoyed that one, but also knew I'd enjoy it going into it. I need to read more Karen Macaulay books. I think that'll be fun. I assume she has more books. And then the final book I read this month was Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews, review in progress, maybe next week's video. And I have been a long-term fan of C.G. Drews. I got their first book, 1,000 Perfect Notes. I don't know where it is anymore. It's right over this corner. 1,000 Perfect Notes back in 2018. It's the first book I received as an ARC, so it's very special to me. I love The Boy Who Sweeps Houses. I followed their social media and their Patreon. So then when Don't Let the Forest In came out as a traditional release, I was very excited because I was like, wow, my parasocial best friend is successful. I love that. And I have this version, Don't Let the Forest In. It's quite pretty. I quite like it. It's quite nice. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the dip into the horror genre, and I thought, I can't wait for more. So Hazelthorn, which is now out in the UK, I think it came out October 28th or something like that. When this came out, I was so excited because it's like Don't Let the Forest In, but it's better. And I really love Don't Let the Forest In. Finished this one too recently to process my thoughts, but I think my main compliments are body horror, autistic rage. I will write a coherent review about how much I enjoyed this one. Still gave it 4 stars, but a lot to love in here, and a lot that I'm going to love talking about. Okay, so that looks like everything. That is everything I read in the month of October. Hopefully November's going to be a big month for me because I've got a lot of Lady Night books to read, and I think I'm going to love all of them. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!